In a perfect world, you'd be looking for properties in a cookie-cutter neighborhood with tons of recent sales to choose from, and everything would be sunshine and rainbows. But this is the real world, and unfortunately, it's not always that easy. So how do you even know you have a deal unless you know what it's worth? In this video, I'm going to go through all things valuation so that you can use it to find great deals. And we start right now. Hey there, friends. My name is Anson Young, and I'm a real estate agent and investor here in beautiful Denver, Colorado, where we do fix and flips, wholesales, wholetails, and I'm also building out an agent team, which is a new challenge. I mean, you should always challenge yourself, right? And I'm also the author of this book, Finding and Funding Great Deals, out through our friends right here on BiggerPockets. And if you stick around to the end of the episode, I'll give you a discount code for 20% off at the BiggerPockets bookstore for this book. Speaking of BiggerPockets, you are right here on their YouTube channel, so please do me a huge favor and give them a like, a subscribe, hit the bell icon, whatever the kids are doing these days. It helps them out, helps me out, it helps you out. You can sleep better at night knowing that you did your part to help grow BiggerPockets. So, good job. And don't forget, at the end of every single one of my videos, I give action steps so that you can take the information that's given in here and go put it into action. Because if you're not acting on it, I mean, I'm not that entertaining, so you might as well take what I'm saying and go make money, help people, do that kind of stuff, right? Right. Valuation. This takes me back to the time when I first moved back to Denver from Phoenix after doing my first deal. I got a job with an agent and they threw me right into the deep end doing 10 to 30 BPOs per week. A BPO is basically a light appraisal that a bank orders for a bank-owned foreclosure. So I got thrown straight in doing these valuations over and over every single day for months. And I wouldn't trade that experience for the world because it made me very good at valuation, and that experience was priceless. So even though that agent didn't turn out all that great and he still owes me money, but whatever. So why didn't I call this video After Repair Value? Because valuation in itself kind of encompasses all of that. Sometimes you want to value an as-is property. So you're going to take the dumpster fire of the neighborhood and you want to compare it to the other dumpster fires that have sold in that area so you can get an as-is value. So that's why. First, we're going to start off with the easiest way to evaluate, and then we're going to teach you how to do it yourself. So without further anything, let's get going. Part 1 is to get a pro to do the work for you. This might seem like a cop-out to hire an agent or an appraiser to do the valuation for you, but honestly, it's the easiest and most newbie-friendly way to get valuation on property. I mean, why do it yourself when there are people out there who do this on a daily basis, all day long? That's all they do, especially appraisers. They sit there and appraise all day. An agent has market knowledge and can't really list or sell properties, advise buyers, have that fiduciary duty to their clients unless they know how to evaluate properties and know what they're worth. So here are your options. The first one is to get an agent to do a CMA, which is called a comparative market analysis. And this is the type of report that they do for their clients. If you wanted to list a property with them, they would do a CMA for you, and it's a nice report that gives you all the comparables on a single form with other information like days on market and average sale time, average price that it sold, and it goes through and highlights the differences between each one of the properties so you can see at a glance, oh, these are 4-bedroom and mine's a 3-bedroom, that kind of stuff. Now, if you have a great relationship with an agent, they will likely do this for you, knowing that you're going to bring them future business. If you're having them list the property at the end, say it's a fix and flip, then they will 100% of the time be doing this job for you. If you don't really know any agents, you're going to have to get out there and network, team up with some agents and see if they're willing to do this kind of work for you. A CMA for a good agent should take 10 minutes, maybe, unless you need something really in-depth or there's something unique about the property which creates more work. Maybe 10 minutes, maybe that's a little bit, let's just say 30 minutes to an hour for an agent to really do a thorough job of giving you all of the information in that market for that property. And if you don't know any agents, typically this costs about $30 an hour. If you're going to approach an agent, this is about what you would pay. And honestly, I'd pay $30 to know that my $300,000 investment is going to be worth it. That seems like a good return on cash. Another thing, and it's not so prevalent these days, but back in the day when we had bank-owned foreclosures, there were agents that just did broker price opinions. And these are kind of light appraisals that they would get paid by the bank to do. And so if you can find an agent in your area that still does BPOs and you can pay them $30 or $50 for a valuation, and it gives you a lot of information, I think even more than a CMA, that would definitely be worth your time as well. So network, build relationships, and if all else fails, pull out your wallet and pay them a little bit of money for their time and their expert opinion. Your other option is to get an appraisal. Now, not many investors do this on the front end on a fixer-upper property because of the time and expense. But if you want the expert that banks use to lend out billions and billions of dollars, you're gonna go to an appraiser. I mean, the banks trust them, and the banks have never done anything wrong or misplaced their trust in anything, right? All kidding aside, most appraisers that I've ever encountered are highly professional and they take their job very seriously. I'm just kidding, guys. Don't mess with my appraisals, please. So typically this would cost you $400 and maybe a week's worth of time to complete. So you can see why not many investors use this when they're going in to put an offer on a property. You're not going to wait around for a week for an appraisal to see what the as-is value is and then go put in an offer. You're probably going to get a CMA, or that brings me to option 2, which is do the valuation yourself. So we have to start with some of the basics. This is a big subject. We'll start with comparables, then we'll go to adjustments, and then we'll take it from there. Really quick, when I say subject property, I'm talking about the property that you want to get the valuation on. So if you're talking to a homeowner and you're trying to figure out what to offer them, the subject property, when I talk about the subject property, is that property that you're going to put an offer on. And when I talk about comparables, these are other properties that have sold close to the subject property. So similar in size, similar in age, similar in proximity, similar. We want apples to apples comparisons and not apples to oranges or apples to zebras. It's kind of hard to make an apple look like a zebra and then figure out what they're worth from there. And comparables is sometimes shortened just to comps. So if I say comps, I mean comparables. When I say subject property, you get it. Comparables are the most similar properties to our subject property in the area that we're looking. And we're looking again for the apples to apples comparisons. And sometimes we won't find everything that's going to make it look like an apple. That's where adjustments come in, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Here are some of the categories that we're looking for similarities. And the first one is distance to the subject property. Now, this is going to be very important. I want to find a property in the same neighborhood. I want it, like, if on the same street would be ideal, but obviously the same block neighborhood where you're not crossing major streets and you're not going within maybe a half mile of the property. And that's for suburban properties. Now, urban might be even tighter. If you're comping a condo, you might want to stay in the same building. And if you're comping something that is in a rural area, you definitely, you can expand the radius a bit more to 2 or 3 miles if you have to, but you're looking for something that's still within the same area. I'm not going to pull comparables that are 10 miles away in a suburban area because there's so many differences that can happen in that much space. It could be a different school district, a different different side of the track, so to speak. Those kind of things that, the closer you are to the subject property, the better. The next one is square footage. I try to stay within 200 square feet plus or minus of my subject property so that I can get a very good idea of a very similar size property. And typically square footage counts if it's above the ground. So basements don't typically count for this, although you do factor it in later, but that above ground square footage is what most appraisers and BPOs really care about. And so I'm going to start there, and then if I have a basement and all of the comps don't have basements, I can adjust from there. But the main square footage is what I really care about, and we go within plus or minus 200. And if it's outside of that, that's okay. We can, again, adjust for it. I keep saying that. Bedrooms and bathrooms, of course, if I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, I want to find all of them that are 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Now, if I know that there might be an option to add a 4th bedroom, I might look for comps with 4 bedrooms and then know that that's kind of what the valuation will be. But if it doesn't have the exact number, we can again adjust. The next thing I'm looking at is style. So if I have a ranch subject, I want a ranch comparable. It's a little bit harder to compare ranches to 2 stories or ranches to tri-levels or ranches to whatever's in your area. So if I have a ranch, I'm going to pull all of the ranches in that neighborhood and then go from there. Get rid of those other ones. Forget about them. Next one is year built. So I want to stay within 10 years or so of my subject property because it's really hard to compare a 1954 built property to something that's a brand new build right down the street. So 2020 property versus a 1954, it's going to be really hard to adjust for those. And so I stick within 10 years or so, unless it's just a weird neighborhood with a lot of different year builds. But I mean, we're talking suburban for the most part for me. And so everything was built within 2 years of each other, which helps. Another one is lot size. And so again, urban, suburban properties, you can kind of stick within the same lot size. I try not to take my property and then have a comparable that has a double lot or something. Now I should have put this one at the top, but the sale date is very important as well. I'm not going to pull anything that's over 6 months to a year out. The comparable sold over a year ago, and that's the only comparable that I can find. I'm going to try to use it, but there should be a lot of recent sales within a certain radius of your property that have happened in the last 3 months ideally, especially on a market like this where the market's going up so fast. You want to catch the newest appraisals and the newest valuations, the newest closings, so that you can have a better, more accurate view of what your property is going to be worth. Now there's these other categories as well. Garage, pool, those kind of things. I consider those last. 2-car garage versus 1-car garage, carport, those kind of things aren't as important to me as initially the square footage, the proximity to subject, all of that kind of fun stuff. And the last category is condition. So there's 2 ways to really look at this. And the first one is if I'm comping out a flip property. So I have an existing property that is not in great shape, but I know it's going to be in great shape at the end. I'm going to have all my comparables have after repair value. So this is their fully fixed up. They've got the granite countertops. They have the beige or gray paint. They have new doors and they have all this new stuff. It's not too hard to find other flipped properties in most neighborhoods. And those are going to be some of your best comparables for your future flipped property, right? So I'm taking this as is property and I'm looking for what it's going to be worth when you do all of these upgrades to it. Now, the second way to look at that is I want to comp a property that is just as is. So maybe I want to take that subject beat up property and I want to know what other beat up properties have sold for in that same neighborhood. So in that case, I'm not looking for the property with all the upgrades. I'm looking for the other dumps that got sold and knowing what that's worth. So sometimes if you're wholesaling or if you're trying to sell this project to another investor, all different reasons why you might need an as-is valuation. But I can say, hey, this is the lowest sold property that's sold in this neighborhood for the last 2 years. Now an investor comes along, that's going to look appealing to them. It's sold for less than those other dumps. So that's what you do. You take all of those categories, you find 3 to 5 properties that are just like your subject property, and you put them on a spreadsheet or you put them on something where you can see them side by side. So you see all of your bedrooms and bathrooms and square footage, and if it has a garage or a basement, all of that stuff for your subject property. And then you have comparable 1, comparable 2, comparable 3. So you can really look at them and say, okay, these ones have more bedrooms or less bedrooms or whatever. And you can take that and go from there and have it all in a nice glance. You're going to take your comparables, and if they're not exact, if there are some that don't have the same amount of bedrooms and bathrooms, the best way to adjust for that is through adjustments. Adjust through the adjustments. So you can take those comparable properties and you can make them look more like the subject property by adding or taking away price on certain attributes. Now I can give you some rough adjustments for these properties because some of this does vary from state to state and area to area. For example, a pool doesn't mean much in Colorado. You can use it for 3 months. Not a lot of properties have pools, but if you're in Florida or Arizona where pools are a high commodity, they're just high in demand, then you're gonna want to adjust for things like that. But bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, those are pretty universal. We can talk a lot about those. My subject is a 3-bed, 2-bath property, and my comparable is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath property. Now, all other things being the same, is my 3-bedroom worth more than this 2-bedroom? And the answer is yes, for sure. By how much? Survey says around $10,000, maybe $15,000, and up to $20,000 in some other areas. Bathrooms are typically worth $7,500 to $10,000. Garages are, $3,500 per space, maybe $5,000 per space, depending on the area. Square footage, there's not really a hard number for like $1 per square foot, but you could look up dollar per square foot in the area and then kind of subtract or add from there. But the idea is basically to get everything equal across your 3 to 5 comps. And so that way you can have a really good idea what your 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,000 square foot house can sell for if you have other properties that are either that or adjusted to be close to that. So here we are in part 3. Let's go ahead and evaluate. Let's figure this out. So where do we find comparables that we're going to compare to our subject property? Well, the answer is the MLS. Everybody has MLS access, right? All right, that's the end of this video. Thanks, bye. What's that? They don't? Oh man. All right. Since you all don't have MLS access, well, let's go to the next best thing. And that is those sites out there that suck all their data from the MLS. Actually, the MLS gives it to them and charges them, I think. But sites like Redfin and Zillow are basically syndicators for MLS data. And what that means is that anytime a property closes inside of MLS, it's going to propagate into Zillow after a few minutes or a few hours or whatever that takes, but that data does get transferred over. Now you're just looking at different tools and different ways to search. That's basically the differences between those kind of sites. We're gonna comp something live. Well, not really live for you, but it's live for me. I guess everything's live for me, but anyways, let's go through a quick example of comping out a property using a free tool like Redfin. I don't know, whichever one. All right, so I'm going to show you how this works on the computer. So, oh, hang on, I got to take this. Hi, who's this? BiggerPockets legal department. Wait, I can't show them directly from those other websites? Oh, you have to have permission to do that. Okay. Dang. Well, no. Don't worry, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. All right. Just don't want to get in trouble. All right, so we're gonna have to figure this out a different way, but I think I got you covered. My subject property is a 3-bedroom, 3-bath ranch that is 1,980 square feet. It's got a 2-car garage. Everything in this neighborhood has basically been built around the same year, so I'm not too worried about that. Everything has basements too. So go to your favorite home search website and you're gonna go into your neighborhood where your subject property is. First thing you're going to do is select single family homes if that matches your property. And then we only want to see the sold properties. So almost all of them have a way to just filter out everything but the sold properties. Go for the last 3 to 6 months and then narrow it down by your amount of stories. And so since this is a ranch, I want only the 1-story properties in this whole area. What I do next is I'm going to search through and I'm going to look at every single ranch in this neighborhood. And I'm going to look through all the pictures. I'm going to look at all the statistics and I'm going to pick the best 3, the top 3 out of this entire neighborhood, 3 to 5, but 3 is usually sufficient. And those are going to be my comps that I'm going to work with. The first one, 425,000, 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,007 square feet. This is pretty much perfect. The next one, 440,000, 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,083 square feet. This one here at 430 is looking pretty good, but it has 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, while mine is a 3-3. So I'm going to have to adjust. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take away one of the bedrooms, which means I'm going to take away $10,000 from the price. And then I'm going to add a bathroom. And so I'm going to add $7,500 to the price for that bathroom. And now things are looking more like a 3-3. So now my 3 comps are 425, 440, and the newly adjusted 427.5. So now I know that my properties were somewhere between 425 and 440. So I can either average these out or I can just shoot for the 440, kind of see what the difference is between the 425 and the 440 and scrutinize it further. Now it's time for a pro tip. Yes, there is investor marketed software that claims to be able to pull comps for you or auto comp properties, but unfortunately, I don't think that they're quite there yet, at least enough to build a business on and have consistent, reliable valuation from these tools. That I would not build my business on that. I would rather have an agent pull those for me, or if I could pull them myself, that is ideal. But it doesn't hurt to actually build the skills to learn how to evaluate in case you need to teach a team member or double check an agent's work, that kind of thing. It's good to know the direct knowledge, even if you don't use it all that often. So that leads us into our action steps. Step 1 is to start gathering your agents. Get out there, network, get with some agents that you can have in your pocket on your team, rooting for you and ready to do CMA or any kind of valuation for you. They're going to be your go-to professionals while you learn this process, or maybe you don't want to learn this process. Maybe you just want to go get agents to do it for you. That's fine too. Step 2 is going to be analyze some CMAs. Now, if other agents are like me, I have about 600,000 different CMAs that I've done over the years on my computer, and most of those agents from step 1 are going to be willing to send you 3 to 5 of their old CMAs to look through, see where they found apples to apples comparisons, how they adjusted or how they evaluated a certain property. And step 3 is to just start getting your reps in. Evaluate properties that are listed. Evaluate properties that you get from wholesalers. Evaluate properties that are down the street from you. This is one of the first things that I tell agents or investors that I talk to who are coming on and they want to know more information about, this whole process. I'm like, hey, figure out if these are deals. Go evaluate deals, and part of that is the repair value or the valuation. So the more properties that you evaluate, the better that you will get at it. the faster and more accurate you will be, and that means the more big fat checks that you can go on to cash. As promised, use this code at checkout at the BiggerPockets bookstore for the book Finding and Funding Great Deals. I appreciate your support. You guys have been amazing. And stay tuned for the next video, which is all about scaling your deal finding business, scaling it up so that you can be a huge mega deal finding monster conglomerate thing. So make sure you check it out. So until next time, I'm Anson Young. If you want more information from me, connect with me on BiggerPockets, send me a message through there. Find me on YouTube, find me on Instagram, find me somewhere. I'm sure that you'll find me, but reach out and connect. I appreciate every single one of you for watching. Thanks so much. Get out there, start valuing properties. Find deals. Go do that.